It is finally time to get on with the build series on the Caddy. We have got engine conversions, digital dash, skirts, arch kit, all the good stuff. Let's get into it. With any build series or project, I like to get the mechanicals out the way, done and dusted first. Before paintwork, before any small bits, you get the mechanicals sorted, everything is good. I have made a little dent. As you can see, there is mess everywhere. We're taking a 2 litre common rail 170 out of the Leon, sticking it in the Caddy. I have made some progress already. So let's skip back to last night and see how we get on. I haven't done too many common rail engines out. I have done one in the past, but I've done many PDs and BKDs in the past to know roughly where all the bolts were, so it didn't take too long. 3 hours in total, and this time I didn't forget to drain all the oil out. It's easy to take an engine out and forget to drain it, so happy days on this one. Loads of stripping. I do get the front end off to give me a lot more room, and then at one point during the video, or during taking the engine out, there was a squishy moment where the bonnet squashed me. I did holler at Andy and he come over and saved me. It wasn't too bad. The DPFs can be a bit of a wiggle. I ended up lowering the subframe ever so slightly, gave me enough room to wiggle it out. More nuts and bolts. I do like to drop the engine out the bottom. If you're doing it at home, you can just pull it forward. With all the front off, it pulls out nicely. Engine on the floor, it wasn't too bad. And that brings us up to now. We have an empty Seat Leon engine bay. I do need to look at wiring. Some of you guys might be watching this on a guide on a how-to, so I'm going to skip taking the engine out because you guys, I'm sure, are confident enough in doing that. If you're not and you want a few tips and tricks, there's plenty of engine swaps on the channel already. But I do know you guys want to know what's involved with the wiring. We're going to come back to that, and I am going to quickly, I say quickly, me and Andy are going to slowly remove the engine out the Caddy. It should be the same process as the common rail 170, but let's see how we get on. I will do some magic. No time lapse on taking the Caddy engine out, but a cheeky bit of magic. We got the engine in, complete, running, driving. Ta-da! What do you mean, ta-da? It's a different motor. That weren't a magic trick we was expecting. Well, that is actually the Caddy engine, the 1.6 sat in the engine bay of the Seat or the Leon. Why have you put the 1.6 in there? Have you ever tried to move one of these engines, engine and gearbox? They're quite a struggle. So I lowered the Caddy down, unbolted it, lifted the Caddy up, took the Caddy outside, brought the Leon back in, lowered the Leon down onto the Caddy engine, bosh bosh. Now I can push the engine around, it's on wheels. Yeah. Easy. Just going to scrap the whole lot, gets rid of it, done. I am just playing with wiring looms. Now, if you're watching this just as a guide on the wiring loom and you're skipping through the video, naughty. You need to watch all of it, Brother John, Cousin Keith, and Sister Sally. I will go over what's needed to do the wiring a bit later in the video, not too long before you start moaning. Coy's hanging it out. But straight away I can see the... Oh, where is it? It was here 2 seconds ago. There it is. Oh yeah. The MAF sensor. The plug's different. So I've depinned that from the ECU. 2 other wires go into the abyss. There's a wiring loom that's missing for the new fuel pump. I don't know what else is involved apart from that, so I'm going to play with this and we'll recap on wiring tomorrow. Hold your horses. I pulled the engine cover off and I was hoping to see a fresh timing belt, but nope, we've got an old timing belt. It's not original, so someone's put a new belt on it, which is good because it's 130k, and I can still see the print on the timing belt, and it's an inner kit, and I have an inner kit. While it's right in front of my teeth, I might as well put a timing belt kit on it. Timing belt, water pump, auxiliary belt, all the good stuff. It's just another peace of mind. While it's right in front of me, I might as well do it now. And I do also have a thermostat, which looks a bit more involved, but that's tomorrow's job. I'm going to do this Then I'm going to end the night early, probably about 8:30 p.m. I'm going to go and edit the blue water video for Friday for you guys. I'll see you in the morning. Next morning, we have got the time belt water pump done. You saw that in the small time lapse. We're ready. We are ready. I did fit the Leon brake hydraulic pipe, the clutch pipe. It was slightly different. So the one off the Leon, I've popped him into position. I've cleaned the engine bay. It was absolutely hanging in there, but I pressure washed it, given it a wipe over. It looks clean, actually. Happy with how it's come out. Now we're ready for what you may call the marriage. This engine, I've put on a wheelie thing, but it's still not the easiest. Andy's manning the ramp, the button. Go on, hand down. Keep going. Go on. Stop. Up a touch. Down. Go on. Right, hang fire. It is easy, super easy, to cross thread these bolts, because normally you've got it jacked up, you're lowering the vehicle down, there's angles of fadangles, stuff's wonky, so I get these bolts in, both ends, finger tight as much as possible, because I don't want to cross thread any. Maybe I've done it in the past. And then you just use the dagger gun. Then you just use the I can't even say it, dagger gun to send it home, but we're not doing that. 1, 2, 3. I have changed the gear selectors from the Leon into the Caddy, because this is 6-speed. All the pipe work is exactly the same from this and the Leon, which is handy. Down a pump. We are about there. Now, a lot of people say about replacing these bolts. I never have. I've never had one snap. I've never had one come undone. But I use a bar or a ratchet to do them up. Does that make a difference? I don't know. I now pronounce you Caddy and 2 litre. Up with the ramp hand. Yep. Happy days. This engine mount, timing belt end, that's the same as the 1.6. I did change this gearbox mount for the Leon one. Yeah, it's in there. I'm going to spend a little bit of time connecting pipes, connecting this, connecting what I can, and then we're finally going to talk about wiring. It is finally time to tackle the wiring, and what I've laid out is what I believe we need to do. I will update on exactly all of the sensors we need to address, but for now, what I've worked out, what I can see, is sat right in front of us. First of all, let's start with the MAF sensor. I can see the plug is different between the 2 litre and the 1.6. The 2 litre has a 4-pin plug, and on the Leon, all I done was I cut the loom open, 2 of the pins went all the way back to the ECU. I wrote down exactly where they come from out of the plug. I will show you my notes at the end, and 2 of the wires, they went into the abyss, into the car or into the van. I'm not sure where they go just yet, but I do know 2 pins went back to the ECU, and again I wrote down where they come from. The O2, the lambda sensor, this is a 6-pin plug. When I cut the loom open, I could see 4 of them went back to the ECU, so I wrote down exactly where they come from and each pin location from the plug to the ECU. One of them, as I mentioned, goes into the abyss, i.e. that goes into the car, or it went into the Leon, so I just cut that for now. The other one I can definitely see is different. The 2 litre has a fuel pump up near the timing belt. That is a 2-pin plug, big thick wires, and I did plan to just pull this all the way out, but it goes in behind the dash. So I cut it as far back as possible. That's the plug. Now this is the fuel pump wiring. On the 2 litre, they have a fuel pump up near the timing belt. And I found the wire, plug, easy. Before I cut it, I went into the car and up under where your feet is, there's a collection of relays, etc. And I got a voltmeter and I set it to beep out mode, beep beep, which is continuity, on the white and the red, and then the white and the red on the relay inside. That relay powers the fuel pump, and that is a 404 relay. So now I know there's the plug and there's the relay. I cut them back as far as possible. We know we need to use those. I have put a ring terminal straight on the earth, the brown, and then I've lengthened the red wire. This is going to sit in the engine bay, straight on the fuel pump. The earth is going to go to the body, and then I've lengthened the live wire with a sufficient sized piece of wire. That's going to run inside, and then with the relay, obviously that needs connecting to the lengthened piece, and then I'm going to work out where these ones go. So I will do that and report back. And these, we know where they go, or mostly where they go. I will explain as good as possible on the complete wiring. Some of it is a case of following it back. I haven't de-pinned anything on the Caddy yet, so let me show you how I do it. I have carefully de-taped the wiring loom, and just actually from the very beginning, this is the plug that runs the engine. We're not going to touch that at all, or at least I don't think we are. This is the second plug that goes onto the ECU. I have unhooked it, I've unhooked the side repeaters, all the earths, and I've pulled it all the way forward so I've got easeability and easy to reach. I've de-taped all the loom, and now we're at the plug that needs addressing. You're going to slide off that bad boy, and then in every plug you want to de-pin, there's a little purple trim. We're going to pull him out. And I'm going to do the one that's the worst first. I say the worst, the one with the most wires. We have got the O2 sensor. And when I said in the earlier shot about one that goes into the abyss, on the Caddy it's white. 5 wires here run back to the ECU. So I'm going to follow these back as best as possible, all the way back to the plug. Let's just do one on camera. We've got the blue and the red, and that I can see is that bad boy there. So he needs to come out. I am going to get my pin tool. If you haven't got a set of pin tools, get on eBay. Pin removal tools. And the one I found that works the best is the little single bad boy with a little slice on. Was it that one? Will he fit? We got the blue and the red, and in the hole, no, that one's too big. We're not going to go in the ECU pinhole. There's a little hole next to it. I'm going to push it in, give it a wiggle, and then I'm going to pull the pin out. So now I'm going to de-pin all of these 5 wires from this O2 sensor, and then we're going to put the 2 litre one in its place, in the positions you took them out of the 2 litre car, whether that's a Golf or a Leon. So let me de-pin all of these. I've de-pinned 5 wires, as mentioned, from the O2 sensor. Now, rather than cut the white wire, I'm going to pull out the little purple piece, putting him somewhere I'm not going to lose him. Now I'm going to de-pin the white wire from the plug. That way, if my thoughts are correct, I can then pin it straight into the 2 litre plug, and then we've got no cut wires. You could just cut this and join it to the one on the 2 litre, but I'm going to try and do it proper. Now, when de-pinning a plug, you need to go in just on the outside of the wires, one side and the other side. You need to go on both sides, I believe. I'm going to do it a couple of times. Yes. So now I've de-pinned the 1.6 O2 plug, and I haven't cut the wire that goes into the vehicle. So now I'm going to get the 2 litre plug. I'm going to push all the pins where they come from the 2 litre vehicle into that, the ECU plug, and then the wire that I cut this end, which went into the abyss, I believe it's this. I haven't worked everything out yet, so I am going to repin these into the ECU because I know that's a definite. I'm not sure if that plug wants to go in there, but I'm going to work out all the kinks and report back. It's been a few days. I have assembled the front end. I plugged in all the hoses, cables, etc., whatnots, doodads, all the good stuff. And the good thing about going from a 1.6 to a 2 litre, everything is exactly the same regarding pipes. My aircon pipes from the 1.6 have plugged straight into the 2 litre. The water hoses are exactly the same, they clip straight on. The matrix hoses clip straight on. Everything is exactly the same. I might have mentioned earlier in the video, the 1.6 and the 2 litre are almost the same. Everything is plugged in. I'm happy with how everything looks. Front end's back on, not forgetting to do the bonnet cable. You wouldn't want to close the bonnet and realise you haven't done the bonnet cable. A super quick rundown on what's going on with the wiring for anyone watching this as a guide. I do believe I've done what I needed to do. I still need to fire it up, run for tests, scan for fault codes and make sure all the conversion parts are done. But the 3 things I mentioned, MAF sensor plug, O2 lambda sensor plug and the fuel pump, are all done. The quickest rundown. I will put everything I've had to do in the video description. MAF sensor, first of all, old one was a 3-pin plug, this one is a 4-pin plug. If you de-pinned it from your 2 litre engine, you're going to write down where the 3 wires come from the ECU. So the 3 wires in the new plug, you should know where they go because you've written it down and you personally took them out of the 2 litre ECU plug. The extra wire, the 4th wire, that runs into the vehicle, and that was on pin 2 on the old MAF sensor. That is the power wire for the MAF sensor. That is now in pin 1 on the new MAF sensor plug. So pin 2 on the old one is now pin 1 in the 4-plug MAF sensor. Lambda sensor or O2 sensor, is it that one? Well, that is 6 wires, and again, if you de-pinned it from your 2 litre, you're going to know where 5 out of the 6 wires go because they go to the ECU. So you're going to put them in position. I will put it all in the video description just in case you didn't write it down. Naughty. The 1 wire that goes into the Caddy, into the cabin, I cut that on the Leon, and then on this one I de-pinned it from the old plug. So I haven't had to cut any wires. The 1 wire that goes into the vehicle now is pinned straight into the plug, wherever the plug is. He's there somewhere. So it's all relatively simple stuff, actually. It's not too involved. As long as you de-pin it from where it comes from, put it in the same position on the caddy, you should be all right. Let's look at the fuel pump wiring. This whole assembly is the fuel pump on the 2 litre. It's not there at all on the 1.6. It all bolts into position where it should be. You just need to wire the power in. I mentioned the 2-wire brown and red and white. I cut that as far back as possible, and because it is a fuel pump, it's alive in an earth, I put a ring terminal straight on the end of the brown wire, and I earthed it to a random M6 bolt hole just on the back of the bulkhead here. I have used loom tape, which is a material type loom tape, not just black masking tape. That's not very pretty. And then the earth wire, you can see I lengthened it. It's this red wire. I'm not finished. For any gurus out there or wiring experts, I haven't fixed it into position. I then poked it through where the bonnet cable goes, and that goes down into the fuse box. Let me show you. We are a little bit tight on space here, but you can see roughly what's going on. I mounted the relay, which is this 404 relay. I mounted that where it should be in a 2 litre caddy. That way, down the line, if anyone has any issues and they need to like look at fuel pump relays and stuff, it's in a similar position to where it should be in a 2 litre caddy. So it's future proofed for anyone that doesn't know. I have lowered the fuse box, you can see him there, and what I'd done, I wanted to put it on a fuse in the fuse box, not some aftermarket jobby hanging down here. So I got a female spade connector out of the 2 litre fuse box, pinned him into the caddy fuse box, and now this blue 15 amp fuse that's on the end, that is for the fuel pump relay. I've got a couple of joins. It's not perfect. They are soldered and heat shrinked with glue lined heat shrinked. Yes, I've got 2 joins from there to there, but come on. And that is your permanent live. So that is, I believe, the red and the yellow from this relay. That's a permanent live. One of the other wires, I believe it's the blue and the black. That is a switched live. You can just about see it there. And at the moment it's temporarily bodged in. But that is going to be a 5 amp fuse in the smaller side. I need to de-pin another female connector from the Leon that's still outside. The other one is actually a switched signal from the ECU. Everything in here is as factory as possible, apart from a couple of extra joins and heat shrink. But when this is up here and the wires are tucked away, you're never going to know. You're going to have a 5 amp fuse here, you're going to have a 15 amp fuse there, and a relay. Nice and simple. There is one other modification under the bonnet to do with the fuel pump relay. You can see that multi-plug down there, and if I zoom in, you should be able to see pin 2. Well, that is the brown and black for the fuel pump relay. In the Leon, that wire is in position. In the Caddy, there was no wire there at all, so I de-pinned a bit of the brown and black wire from the Leon, and I poked it in number 2 onto the Caddy. And that brown and black is your switched signal from the ECU that I've then run in. Let me zoom out. Let me move the light. So now that brown and black that's in pin 2 is now that brown and white there, and I have loom taped it in, and if I zoom out, it does then run underneath the battery, and I poked it in a little grommet that goes all the way behind the dash up to the relay. I believe that's everything I need to do. I haven't started it yet. Let's find out. This has been on my mind for a few days. Now, with regards to immobiliser stuff, there's 2 options you can go down. You can go down the immobiliser off, which is called immo off, and that will turn the immobiliser off in the ECU, because obviously if you're fitting a replacement engine and ECU, your key and dash clocks aren't going to work with this ECU, so you can simply immo off it. That is the easiest thing to do. The second option, which I've had to go down, because I can't build a nice Caddy on the channel and then tell you guys it's had the immobiliser turned off. You need to get someone that can program the ECU into the key and the clocks on the Caddy. Immo off is the easiest option, but that is entirely down to you. Andy, can you prime the key on and off a few times? and that is going to prime the fuel pump. Oh, I can hear fuel. Do it again. Keep going a couple of times. Now, obviously, I haven't had any of these fuel lines off. I left the filter housing full. I'm going to run it a little bit and then change the fuel filter. I have done new oil and filter, new gearbox oil filter. Nope, new gear oil. I'm going to run it a bit and then do the fuel filter. There is a million things that's running through my head because I've done the timing belt, I've done the wiring. I'm not the biggest wiring guru. I have to get outside help. There's a million things running through my head. Is the timing belt on correctly? Have I done enough wiring? I can hear the water pump down there. Well, anyway, let's find out. Andy, clutch it. Turn the key. Oh, yeah. No engine light. I've just got a bulb warning light. I can hear the cooling fans on. I'm not sure why. Yes. I am really happy with that. Turn it off, Anne. Oh, mate. I was expecting it to crank a little longer. But again, I haven't had the fuel lines off, so it didn't have to bleed. We primed the ignition. I am so happy with that. I can hear the cooling fan on. I don't know if I've got to do another pin swap or whether it's a coolant sensor. I don't know. Both cars had air con, so it shouldn't be that. I haven't taped up any of my wiring loom yet because I wasn't sure if I had to do any pin swaps, and I'm still not sure now. Let me have a minute to take it in because I am happy with that. We got it outside. I've cleaned the engine bay. Looking relatively factory under there. I do need to get a new battery. It's a little bit tired, but it is looking pretty sweet. Wiring loom's all taped back up. It's all tucked back into position. I need to test drive it and it's gonna go well on them small little alloys. Yeah, happy days. Let's turn the phone on to silent. Now, lastly, with regards to the wiring, because I know some of you are going to watch this and want to know from the wiring, I plugged it in after we got it running, finessed a few bits, plugged it in. I did have a code for the second temperature sensor, and it turns out that on these later Caddies, if yours is a 1.6 and an earlier model, you're going to plug this all in and it's going to work. You're going to have no codes. Happy days. This one is slightly later, and they took the brown and the yellow, which is for coolant sensor 2, they took it out of the T14A plug and they moved it to another plug under the headlight. So I pulled the yellow and the brown out, lengthened the wires, I put them into position 11 and 13 into the T14A. I will put that in the video description. That is the last of the wiring. Now, without further ado, now of course, because of the way of the world, oh, there's a lorry in the way. Because of the way of the world, some people have a bit of a moan up. This has got no MOT. It's also got a rattly drop link, but we'll address that at a later date. It's got no MOT, so unfortunately, for 99.9% of other people that are happy to go for a burn round the block with no MOT, that would all be fine. But we can't do that because we don't want to upset the 0.1% of people. So we're just going to stay on my estate. It's a private industrial estate off the road. Lovely in here. First of all, heats up a lot quicker than the 1.6. Some caddies have issues with the blowers not working too well in the summer or in the winter. 2 litre heat straight up, happy days. There's a couple of people I want to mention that have helped me out along the way, but no, I've phrased that wrong. There's a couple of people that have helped me out along the way, but I'm not going to stick their names or mention them, because some people might tackle this at home, get stuck, and then start messaging them. Thanks, Paul.
Get round there, son.
I'll get round there, I'll get round there.
I ain't got no steering these old golf
We will leave this bit in. Thanks, Paul.
Come on, hurry up. Don't be late.
Thanks for denting my van. Anyway, if you've helped me along the way regarding messages, thank you very much. I'm not going to mention you, because if some of you at home tackle this, you get halfway through and then you get stumped with wiring, you're going to message them, where does this wire go? Where does that wire go? And I don't want to put that upon the people that have helped me. This guide is as comprehensive as I can explain. I'm sure you can work it out. If you're unsure, but you want a 2 litre, if you're unsure on doing the wiring yourself, there is a company, well, there's a few companies, but there is a guy that does a supply and fit or a fit of wiring looms. I'm going to ask him first if I can put his name in the video description. It's a living that he charges for, so you can't message him and say, where does this yellow wire go? Where does this brown wire go? Because that's what he does for a living. I'm going to ask him first if I can put his name in the video description. Anyway, enough about that. We're still on my estate, by the way. It's quite a long estate. It goes round the block, but we're still off road, remember? First of all, it drives good. Gear selectors are good. No engine warning lights or anything like that. And one person I do want to mention, and I am going to mention, so I had a Ruby Tune. It's an ECU remapping specialist. They come out, and because the Leon was so fast, I wanted him just to double check whether it was remapped or not, because I didn't want that on there. And it break turbos, it break gearboxes, or fry the clutch. And yes, it had a poor quality map on it, so he demapped it and put a standard CR170 map on it. And this guy knows what he's on about. I pulled out my fake Chinesium remapping tool, cost about 50 quid. He pulls out a 4 grand machine. I'm like, we won't talk about my machine anymore. Very nice, very knowledgeable guy. Knows everything there is about remapping. So if you're in the Kent, East Sussex area, he drives a Caddy as well, so it's pretty cool. Hit him up, Ruby Tune. I'll put a link to his website in the video description. If you want a vehicle remapping, don't look anywhere else. Message him, email him, and he will hook you up. He travels and does it mobile. Ruby Tune, can't recommend him enough. What a geezer. We're still on my estate, by the way. We haven't booted it yet. I don't know if I need to turn traction control off, because it goes well as it is. Standard map now. Holy sh... That was a 10mm nut. Holy smokes, this is fast. So it was fast in the Leon, but it is quick in an empty tin van full of nuts and bolts rolling about everywhere. 6-speed, obviously. We haven't got that far yet. Oh my God, so was that a first gear pull? Second gear pull? My estate is quite a big estate. Oh mate, there's loads of people in the way on my estate. obviously to drive up and down my estate. It's on my trade insurance, and because we haven't swapped the logbooks yet, I must do that. It's still got tax on it, but it doesn't matter, we're on my estate, right? Another corner that's up on my estate. That is absolutely mental. 1.6 to 2 litre conversion, engine swap, completed it, mate. Oh yeah, the engine swap went to plan. It wasn't too bad at all. Engine and gearbox bolted straight in, and it was just a case of a couple of days of fiddling with some wiring. They're not too bad. I have already done an engine swap and pin outs, ECU repinning, all the good stuff. I've done it on this, so I have a bit of practice. If you're going to have a go at it yourself, practice depinning plugs and ECUs on something that doesn't matter, because if you start pulling too hard, pulling the wires out of the pins, then ringing someone, help, it's going to cost you maybe more. So you need to be confident on what you're doing regarding. Again, there is a guy I know and can vouch for that offers it as a service. I'm going to chat with him first, and if all good, I will put his name and a link in the video description. Big thanks to a couple of people that helped me, talking me through wiring looms and stuff. I'm not going to mention them. They know who they are. But that I'm really happy with. It runs well, it goes like absolute stink, and it pulls 60 miles to the gallon. Absolute no-brainer. Yeah, really good. I have got a lot of videos coming up. I've got a couple coming up on the T5. I want to tackle cruise control and chuck another diesel heater under the seat. So there's a couple of little infill videos for the T5 coming up. And then in the new year, we're going to start the outside build series on the Caddy we've just seen, the silver one. I'm going to make it a show queen. I've got a colour in mind that I'm not going to give away just yet. And it's on a brand spanking new motor. I'm going to buy some of the paint, test it out. But you guys are going to find that out a bit further down the line. I've already got digital dash cluster for it. We've got TMG side skirts. The clocks are TMG ones. Some nice mats, arch kit, loads of good bits to go on it. It's going to be such a nice van because it's already a clean van to start with. Now it's got the 2 litre 6-speed. Yeah, it's going to be such a good van. Now, in the first video where I introduced it to the channel, a lot of you guys said about doing a raffle giveaway, because it is to sell. I don't need to keep it. We've got another one there. I'm not rich enough to keep hold of two. And a lot of you guys said to raffle it off. I believe that's the way. And I want to make it affordable so everyone might have a go. Every one of you guys sat at home that can't afford a super nice Caddy, but you're going to have a punt, £10 a ticket. What do you think about that? £10 a ticket on the raffle, but I do know there's a lot of clauses and a lot of pen to paper to be able to do a raffle. I can't do the raffle on YouTube because they don't like it. We can talk about it, and I can obviously announce the winner, hand the van over, but the raffle, I believe I've got to either work out all of the logistics. If any of you guys at home know the logistics on what's needed, please comment down below to help me out. Or do I just get a raffle company on board and then you have to give them 10%? I don't know. I don't know. Help me out. What do you reckon? Let me know what you think on the engine swap. I'm super happy. If there's anything in the video you want to know about, drop a message below and I'll put all links in the video description, as well as the pinout for the wiring loom. I don't know what I'm going to play with now, but I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out.